Hello and welcome to the DJ Force 10 In Conversation podcast, episode 138. My special guest today was Leon. He is the front man from the band North Atlas. They're a band out of Scotland, a new band. They've got a couple of singles out right now. Their latest one is called Hypnotist. I recommend you going to listen to it. It's good stuff, very good stuff. But this conversation was great. Literally, we seemed to just hit it off straight away. We just started talking about music, our backgrounds, all that kind of stuff, and it was kind of it wasn't really an interview apart from parts where I kind of like jolted in some bits about the band, because obviously that's what we're here to talk about on that front. But as you can hear me, I am out and about at the moment. You can hear probably work going on around me. I don't know if you can hear the buzzing of someone. It sounds like they're cutting something, but there's plenty of work going on. Like, obviously, there's lockdown, a lot of people doing like stuff to their houses and stuff, which is great. And you know, you get the real life sounds coming through. Maybe, I'm not sure. I have to listen to this back and find out. But without much further ado, I'm actually going to just go straight into this interview with you guys, because that's what we're here for. So I'd like to introduce Leon from the band North Atlas. Enjoy.
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, it's not bad, thanks. Not bad. How's the lockdown treating you?
It's all right. It's a little weird, I'm not going to lie. But I've been, work have had me do stuff, so I've been sort of keeping my brain active, but I'm also like homeschooling my kids and everything, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big job.
It is. I mean, I used to be a teacher many years ago, so I can structure a day if I need to. It's the added frustration of it being your own kid and a lot younger than what I'm used to teaching. So,
right.
So it's a little different. That was a long time ago. I was a teacher, so but they're all right. They got plenty of work to get on with and stuff, and they seem pretty good at like doing it. So when I've checked their work, it's all been like correct or as it should be. So
yeah.
Can't grumble at their results on that front.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Kids nowadays they seem to be a lot smarter than when I was a kid. I don't know, man. Like, we were always just not really paying attention to school. I think the only thing I got in school, a grade I got in school, was for art.
Yes, same here.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like, kids are really smart now. It makes me feel ashamed.
Yes, like I wasted my time or something.
Yeah. I shouldn't have done all that trying to be in a band thing,
Oh, yeah. No, I've done that too. And
right.
I did that for about, how long? About 10 years-ish.
Right.
I made a go of it. I got 3 albums out and everything, so...
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah. What did you play? What did you play in your band?
I was a DJ in a new metal band.
That's fucking awesome. Like Linkin Park vibes.
Yeah, Linkin Park, Slipknot, stuff like that. Did that for just about 10 years. Sort of very early 2000s up until about, I think it was like 09 or 10. We called it a day.
Right.
But we did all right. Like I said, 3 albums. We're in all the magazines, toured UK, Europe. Did the whole thing, really. And then it just sort of came time to call a day on it. And I did a few things after that, but nothing as sort of successful as that. So
right. That is a cool one, man. I mean, like a DJ, but like that's really you got to, at the time, that was a really like forward thinking.
It was
thing that's going on, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a constant battle as well, because a lot of people, the sort of the true crowd, if you will, were very against it. But I was the one of the sort of main sort of mouthpieces of the band when it came to doing coverage and stuff.
Right.
So
did you come up because was it kind of like you said, new metal, right? So did you come up against the kind of backlash against that sound? Because there's a bit of that going on now, like there's the controversy around Ammo and Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah. People get uncertain about whether that's real metal or whatever, there's that. Did you come up against that? Yeah,
we did. Yeah, it was kind of we did, because of the sort of like melding of genres, because it was the kind of, the hip hop kind of coming in and sort of taking metal elements the way they kind of did in the 80s and sort of early 90s with like Run DMC and everything, but it was kind of a bit more full on. So Limp Bizkit was sort of like going to number one at that point. Right. Slipknot were kind of like coming out with their sort of roundabout second album, I believe. And, you know, Deftones had a DJ, Incubus. You know, there was a whole army of us at one point.
Yeah,
and even
that's a very cool thing, man. I mean, it's like it's very different, and it's sort of disappeared. You don't really find bands that have a DJ. I mean, maybe you have people who kind of will do an electronic element to things. You know, add like an electronics thing. You know, my brother plays the drums for North Atlas, and he has this electronic thing he brings to us live. Like, so when we play, he'll kind of have this extra setup where he'll trigger loads of samples as well, and it's kind of like that, but it's not. Yeah. He's more the drummer as well as the electronics guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like you said, you don't see many of them these days. I mean, a lot of the classic bands, they are now the classic new metal bands. Right. They still have the like Slipknot still have Sid, Incubus have Kilmore, and Linkin Park still have Mr. Hahn, I think his name is.
Mr. Hahn, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mr. Hahn is awesome.
You know, even Limp Bizkit has still got DJ Lethal. So it's the sort of classic ones around. New bands, there are a few that I've seen with DJs, and always kind of like, I always kind of gravitate towards them because of my thing. But
I love it, man. I love it. I think that's a cool thing. It's like it kind of brought that, you know, that kind of rap element into rock bands, and I think that's really exciting. It always excites me, man.
Yeah, no, it was a good time, you know. Yeah. If you want to check it out, we are on all the streaming services.
What's the band called, man?
Yeah, they're called Zero Cipher. That's ZeroCipher.
That's a really cool name. That's a really cool name. I'll write that down.
Yeah, it should be on like Apple Music, Spotify, everything. I think we left it.
Oh yeah, dude, I've got you here.
Yeah. So there should be. Awesome. There's like 3 albums, but I think there's a couple of re-releases as well where we added a few extra tracks. You know.
Yeah. No, I'm well into this. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, we got a couple of videos on YouTube and stuff as well, so they're all there. We still got music everywhere. We haven't done anything. Well, we're not planning on doing anything until, but we've been. I think we broke up in 2009 or 10. I can't remember.
Yeah, it says active till 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, it's music's still there, which is good, and it will remain there. We've got no plans of ripping it down or anything. So
you could do a comeback someday, man.
Yeah, if people want it, you know. I know some bands do it. At the time, we got good critical acclaim for our music, you know, and we sold quite a few sort of copies of the first album, and generally the sequential albums after that got less and less. But it was kind of like the advent at that point of the digital kind of side of things, which we didn't have a tracker on. So.
Yeah, right.
Which was, you know, that was partly our own fault, but also the sort of like label people we work with weren't au fait with the technical side of things, like digital side of things. So,
right.
You know, but now, like, occasionally you'll get a royalty check through for like 20p. You know.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Spotify and streaming kind of changed everything, didn't it, man? I remember that coming around, and it was just a different ball game.
Yeah, no, it was the sort of time, like, I think it was around iTunes sort of time launching, you know, that sort of like MP3 on there, and you know, the first label we were kind of working with didn't have a direct source for iTunes, as in they couldn't directly put stuff on there, whereas now it's a lot easier. You can go through, there's a few companies that do it now, like CD Baby and all that kind of stuff, but
yeah, for sure. It feels like to me that the battleground now is your playlists. You know, if you can get on Spotify playlists or whatever, you know, that's where most of the streams come from. That's where most people get into your music. Yeah, which is kind of strange, but at the same time, there's a cool element to that. Yeah. You know, because as a music fan, I do discover so much through just Spotify playlists. Yeah. You know, I just stick on and you just go through, and then, you know, when you're working or when you're doing whatever, it's like you hear a tune and then you stop and you're like, oh man, I'm going to go check them out, and then there's an immediate link to their profile. Because you're just going via Spotify, and it's like you discover so much, you know.
No, it's good. I like that kind of element to it. It's kind of like getting a mixtape off a friend, like when, like back
totally.
And it's like, like the whole playlist thing. I'm totally behind. I love going on to random playlists that I get sort of like linked to through my profile, and just sort of going through and listening to bands. But I'm also in quite a fortunate position to get music before it comes out.
Yes, right.
Because of the show, the radio, and everything like that. I also DJ nightclubs as well, so I get a lot of promos to play. And it's quite a fortunate position to get new music before it comes out, but also I do go on a sort of like binge of hunting for new bands and stuff as well, which is, I used to go to record stores to buy stuff, which I still do to a certain degree. I'll go and pick up an album. If a band releases something on vinyl, that's probably 9 times out of 10 I'll pick it up on that because I'm an old DJ kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, now with the playlisting, it's kind of almost gone, it's a weird circle. Like, it's not gone full circle, but going back to that kind of mixtape thing, the way you kind of used to get introduced to music, and it's kind of almost got an element of that and radio, whereas, radio stations have playlists.
Yeah, right.
Latest songs, and that's generally how people used to hear stuff as well.
Yeah. I guess the difference between listening to that and hearing something online is that there's usually a link for it.
Yeah.
You can link yourself straight to it. So it's like, because we kind of have this, lifestyle where we're all kind of very, bitty. We're doing one thing, then something distracts us and we go off and we go on a little exploration about a band. It can just happen.
Yeah.
And that's something you couldn't necessarily get with radio because you can't get that direct link.
No, that's very true.
Yeah. To a record store, as you say, go ask for the CD or whatever, and it might not be there, especially if it's a new band. So it's like there is something cool about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. I when I was a teenager, I got into music by going to record stores and buying. It was always the cheapest thing, though. It was always like, what's on sale? What can I get? Because I was, I was a poor teenager, so I was like, oh, yeah. which Muse album am I going to get? Oh, it's the cheapest one. Yeah, all right.
That's what I like about now. Like, I go to record stores or I go to even like charity stores, and I'm picking up like CDs that I bought when I was like, say, 16. I bought for £8, £9, £10, and I don't have them anymore. But now I can pick them up for like 50p. And why is this in here for 50p? This is an amazing album. I've picked up so many like just CDs or even vinyl. I've picked up stupidly cheap, and it's stuff that I originally spent a lot of money on before.
Yeah,
but now I've gone on like albums I didn't own. I've gone into them and picked up because I was like, oh, I was going to buy that, but I didn't have money at the time. I can get it for 50p now.
It's totally crazy, and the sort of value of music has changed. It's become a different. People are used to not paying for music.
Yeah, it's a really it's an odd situation because like I said, when I was sort of like in that sort of advent of the digital sort of side of things, that was when like piracy sort of came. When Metallica were going after Napster and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that whole thing, the Napster thing. Yeah, right.
But the weirdest thing, if you put yourself in that situation, like today, you kind of expect your music to be downloaded somewhere. You've got that expectation. But back then, I was like told by these kids that had downloaded our album, oh, we got it off this Russian like torrent site.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be kind of like, okay, cool. They went out, they kind of went to discover the music, but at the same time, this is my living. And what am I supposed
Yeah, it's like, well done for taking the initiative. But that's not how it works. You got to pay for it.
Yeah, it's like, now you owe me £10. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would have been a hard sell. I bet that went over well.
Yeah, totally. I just like at the time, I kind of like I had to like be nice, because I don't like being nasty to people. But I went away with a real like kind of like real fire in me, and then suddenly I realized that this is going to happen. Like I kind of cottoned onto it real quick. I was like, this is going to happen now. This is what people do.
Yeah.
It's all about
100%.
like going out and playing live, and if they buy the CD from you there and then, perfect. But
that's right. You can find that, right? People will buy a CD and whatnot at a gig, which is kind of cool because there's something like really old school about that. Like someone will come up merch desk and they'll chat to you, and you'll get a chance to talk about what they love, and maybe if they're in a band, they can tell you about that, and that's kind of cool. But it only happens live, only happens in person. Yeah. People tend to not buy a record or CD just off of a website. It's like a real life thing now. Which is cool. Way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been out of that sort of side of the game for a while, so I can sort of see it coming round again and people picking up physical products. But what that looks like, I mean, I like picking up vinyl. Like
Yeah.
Especially new stuff now, because it's all like a lot more bands are releasing stuff, which is great. And I just like having like the big artwork.
Right.
And the sort of like physically holding the etched in music in my hand kind of thing.
Oh, sure, dude. I bought the new Shikari album.
Yep.
On vinyl, man. And there's just, it's incredible. Have you heard it?
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it on vinyl as well.
But yeah, I got it on vinyl because it's like, yeah, man, I want to own this. It feels like it has more value to me when I can hold something in my hand. I don't know whether that's something that you feel because you've created music yourself, or it's something that some people out there just feel they just want something real in their hands.
Yeah, I like the fact of having the physical sort of aspect in my hand, rather than the digital file that kind of, it does exist on my computer, but it feels disposable.
Yes, for sure.
So, it's just kind of, I think that's where the sort of like mentality of getting music for free, because if it's not a product, like a physical thing in my hand, it's not real. But, I said, with the physical sort of like the vinyl, like you say, with the Enter Shikari album, I got the indie store blue splatter vinyl. I think there's 3 versions of it. I'm not going to buy all 3, but I actually
thing as well. You could kind of do different versions of your artwork, and you get you get your booklets and you get all the lyrics. It's just a far more immersive experience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, man.
No, it's all good. And I have been recording this whole time, just to let you know.
Okay, yeah, we're good. We're going. Yeah, no, that's
I was going to say we were going. I wasn't going to like something like.
That's cool.
No, that's good because it was a good conversation. I was just testing the sound and I left it going, so it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good. But yeah, no, like I said, I had Rao on the show from Enter Shikari a couple of weeks back when they released the album, and just talking about that sort of side of things with him, and like me and him go kind of a bit way back. I say a bit, but like Enter Shikari played one of their first ever London shows supporting my band.
Right, nice.
And like we had a chat before we went on air, and it was just like I just like love seeing them like soar, like going from there and like actually making it. Because it was
absolutely, man, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, they're great. They're a great band. They're fantastic. We've had the privilege of working with Dan Weller.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, he did South with us, the first track we put out, and we're working with Dan in the next little while to do some more. It's tough recording in lockdown though, man. It's a different experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not alone on that front.
Yeah, right.
It's one of those things. I mean, if you're one of the bands that kind of had because like a lot of the way went to like home recording and stuff like that, or had the ability to home record, and if you as a whole band had that kind of like thing set up, you're kind of set for this because as you've probably seen, there's a lot of bands releasing like recording covers or releasing songs, and they're doing that all through just their basic home setups and stuff. Or using
for sure. Well, me and my brother have been doing that for years. Like we kind of, before we go into the studio, we'll sit and write the song together and put it through its rigorous testing, and then 6 months later it might be ready. It's one of those things. We've also, our guitarist Rusty is good with the electronic side of things and the production. So we're very lucky in that sense to have that set up, as you said already. So doing the next couple of singles in lockdown is probably not going to be as hard as we think.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think it will come together nicely. I mean, if you guys have obviously you've got your brother in the band, you've been recording stuff, that sort of thing, it should come. It's just that you're not going to be in the same sort of vicinity with each other, but you can it's easy to transfer the files digitally across.
For sure.
And then multi-track them in whatever like system you're using.
Yeah.
And just go from there. But it's like, it's a weird one. It really is. Cause it's like, it's put, it's obviously put bands in a real sort of awkward position. A lot of them are kind of, you get some bands that are kind of thriving, because they're used to doing a lot of like online content and they've continued to do that. But there's a few bands that I've spoken to that don't have that kind of facility, and they're kind of, but they are pushing their new music that they've got out. So
yeah. No, it's a weird one, man. I mean, we put a single out it was a couple of weeks ago now, a song called Hypnotist.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that we had done the video already. We'd done the video just before lockdown, and we had started a tour. So we maybe got like 3-4 dates in, and we had to cancel it, which is, that's fair enough. I mean, it's that's the right thing to do. Obviously, we'll reschedule the tour until such times as we can get back out again. But it's like, we were lucky to have the video sitting there and have the track recorded at the time of the lockdown. Yeah, so we put that out, and it's been strange doing it in the lockdown because we've been doing lots of like live sessions, and it's been all kind of from our living room, and I just stay on my own. I stay on my own in Glasgow, so it's kind of funny. You're doing things like this without meeting up with people. I'm used to going and having fun, having a laugh. It's like why we just talked for like 10 minutes about it's like, it's an interview.
No, this is.
I love that though. I love it. It's definitely a different feel.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's why I kind of like. I like doing the long form interview. I released this as a podcast, so like having that long form and having a bit more than just sort of, because everyone's got something to promote, and that's what I'm here to help with.
Absolutely,
generally.
Man. Absolutely.
But people want to know more. People want to have that like distraction. People want to have that conversation part of it, which is what that's the bit I really love about doing a podcast, because I used to do like just generic interviews for a fanzine when I was a kid. And it was like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite, and all that kind of stuff, which is fine at the time, because people like that kind of like quick bullet point in the magazine or whatever. But I was never able to go into full depth. Like some of the conversations I had with people, I had no way of recording that. Then my note taking did not do it justice. Like I spoke with some, that went on to be relatively big, people, and it just sort of, I didn't have that full story. I didn't have that feature piece,
Yeah, man. No, I get you. Totally.
But like this now, what I do right now, I've been quite prolific over in lockdown. I kind of decided to interview like all the music that I really sort of liked that came through to me. So I'm like booking, guys like yourselves and like we talked about earlier, to Shikari and, and just bands of all types. As long as I dig the music, I'm happy to talk to people about it, because
man. Thank you very much for having me on, man. Like,
no worries.
That's really cool of you. I love this sort of thing. And it's good to get your kind of, to get chatting about music and to get out there and talk to people in this lockdown scenario, because you do find yourself kind of going, like especially with a new song out, I'm thinking about music all the time. So it's nice to talk to like-minded people like yourself about tunes. Yeah, I love it.
It's all good. It's all good. Like I said, I heard I got sent Hypnotist, which we just talked about, and I really dug it. And I went back and I listened to South as well, because it was the first time I'd ever heard of you guys.
Right.
Obviously, just
thank you very much, man. I appreciate that a lot.
It was really cool. I mean, I really like the previous single, South. It had a real like 80s vibe to it. I don't know if that was a deliberate thing or not, but it kind of had a weird, like, I don't know what it was. It just like just during, I guess the verses just had this weird, like, I guess it might have been the electric drums that you guys were doing.
There was Cam, my brother Cam, the guy on the drums I was talking about, the electronics earlier, he's quite influenced by like kind of rap stuff, so he liked his Kanye and all that sort of stuff, as well as, Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
So that kind of electronic drum sound is very much in his blood, and I'm so glad he can bring that into our sound. And obviously Dan Weller, he's fantastic. He got what we were getting at straight up, man.
Yeah, I know Dan from his days in Sixth, so he's.
Oh shit! Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, we played with Sixth.
Nice, that was way back, right?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, we played with Sixth quite a few times, to be fair. All nice guys.
The album was pretty good, man. I caught them playing a show. What was it called? I can't remember what it was called, but it was really good. It was like technically amazing. They had a new one out.
Yes. Oh god, they had really long album titles. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to remember the name of the album.
Was it the Dead Trees one?
Could have gone.
I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. But but yeah, no.
Future Eyes.
Which one?
The Future in Whose Eyes.
Oh, okay. Yep.
That was a new one. Yeah, that was sick, man.
Yeah, no, they were amazing. I mean, they were amazing band. They are an amazing band.
Yeah, right. No, it's just because I say it goes. Yeah, they're still doing stuff, man. They're still about.
They are. Yeah, Dan's not in them anymore, is he?
No, I think he is.
Is he? what was he? Was the guitarist? Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yes, yeah.
My brain was just like, what was he doing? What was he doing? It was this. It was one of the singers that left. So, but yeah, no, it was one of the singers that left. But yeah, no, I know Pin as well, which is their other guitarist.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, no, I know he went into like production and stuff, which was cool. So
yeah. No, he's done quite a lot of great work in that. You know, he's definitely a worthy producer for sure.
Yes. Did he have much input into your sort of like sound at all? Like, because I know some producers can be quite hands on, or some of them are quite hands off.
It was pretty good, man. I mean, like we sort of had formulated the sound and the idea for the song. He was very good at kind of adding, you know, a production input. Because I mean, Cam is great at what he does, but he isn't as good as the likes of Dan or whatnot. But yeah, he did help bring out that kind of idea. And we tend to do that. We maybe overthink things and overwrite songs. Sometimes it's good to go into the studio without a solid idea of the song and let it kind of develop in the moment. Because the song that you record at any given time, that's a snapshot of where you're at. Yeah. Musically, you know, like, so if you were to record the same song 5 years later, it would be completely different.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I've
you know, so it is quite good to not overthink things and just kind of go in and let the vibe take you sometimes, you know.
Yeah, that's why you get some bands that kind of struggle with like the second album and things like that.
100%. Because they're overthinking.
They are, and you got to think, like, going back with like sort of my experience, like the first album kind of experience, that those are songs that generally have been played for years.
Right.
Because they've been your demos, they've been your EPs and stuff like that. You haven't like gone and freshly written.
Well, it was something that Steve Harris from Iron Maiden was talking about. Like, he did some interview. I watched it, like some sort of 80s interview, and he said, you know, like the first album, like the first Iron Maiden album, like that was great because they had like, you know, 5 years to write it or whatever. So it was like the greatest hits of the past 5 years, you know. So it's kind of, you're kind of in a privileged position when you're coming out with that, because you can take songs you even did in other bands if that other band didn't, you know, take off or whatever. You can take them and rework them, and it's like it's an interesting new time when you're starting out in a band, you know, because you do have a lot to work with. Yeah.
And how long have you guys been going?
As North Atlas, it's with this kind of group of guys, myself, Rusty, and Cam. What's it been? Maybe a year and a half.
Oh, okay, so it's relatively new.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I was just curious because like the sort of like the two singles, I obviously haven't heard any pre-demos or anything, but the two singles I heard, they're pretty solid. Like,
oh, thanks, man.
On like for a new band, that's like obviously, you know, you and your brother have been sort of probably doing stuff for a long time, but bringing other people in and everything.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. The hardest thing about a band is getting the right lineup. Yeah, that's always the hardest thing, man. Because you know you wind up, if you get the wrong one, you wind up pulling against each other, and if you don't share the same vision, it's like, forget about it. It's not going to come to anything. You know, we're really lucky in the fact that we have Rusty. You know, he's an old friend of ours, and he's kind of come in and he just kind of gets what we're doing, and he brings his own element to it, and it just works, man. And I'm really I'm very grateful for that. You know,
that's really cool. It's nice to hear because, like you say, it is difficult to sort of like maintain a band.
For sure.
Like my experience is going through drummer after drummer after drummer, you know, which seems to be a common thing. Across the board, but no, it's difficult, and it's always nice to sort of see a band that are kind of like solid. You know, they've got a good friendship as well as sort of like the partnership that comes with being in a band.
Absolutely. You've got to spend all that time on the road and in the studio, and if you can't stand each other, it's like, forget about it. It's not going to be a thing, you know? Yeah, no, exactly. So, what have you guys like? Have you had any sort of like memorable moments so far? Like since, because like you say, you've only been going a year and a half, but the sounds you're making, they're pretty solid. And what about your sort of like live experience and stuff? Well, we have a lot of fun live, man. Like we've got this kind of like, we can be quite intense. There's a lot of kind of dark concepts in the songs. You know, I sing quite a lot about anxiety and depression. So, I mean, it's like singing about that stuff live. Like you got to really feel it, and you've got to be honest. And it's really quite interesting because a lot of the people who are into North Atlas or get behind what we're doing are people who've also experienced the same thing. So I'll talk to people after the show, and it'll be like, oh shit, man, like I get what you were saying in South. Like I feel that I was knocked out for however many years with depression, and it's nice to be able to talk about that stuff with people. So that's one of the things that I like about going and playing live, because you meet people who are like you. Yeah, who've been through the same things, So I think that is definitely one of the fun things about playing live. We did the first few dates on this last tour, and it was great. I was so happy with how many people were coming out and getting behind it, and it was really exciting. So I can't wait to get back out in there and hit those extra dates again, man. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
No, I mean, it's like I say, it stopped a lot of people. But no, I was going to bring on to the sort of mental health aspect, because I've had a couple of bands on it that talk openly about it, which is absolutely fantastic, because it's one of those things that I've suffered with for, well, when you kind of look back, your vision's 2020, but officially diagnosed with anything, it was only been in the last couple of years. But no, actually putting that into lyrics as well. Like you say, you've got to be honest as well with it, because there is a thing where you can see right through it. Otherwise, if you've been through something like that, you're like, that guy's bullshitting.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
100%. I mean, like when I started out in bands and started making music, like I masked all those feelings, like I really had, some pretty crazy mental health stuff over the years. And, when I was in the thick of it, dude, like I didn't sing about it. I kept it under wraps. I dressed up in metaphors that were probably too obscure in other bands before North Atlas. But the thing about North Atlas is I've decided it's time to be absolutely real about it. It's time to really sing about what it was like. Yeah, and be as honest as possible, and I think that's it's scary, man. Yeah. Like it's scary, when you hear the lyrics back, you're like, oh well, that really happened. But the amount of people who've kind of come out and say like, oh yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, it makes that worth it. It makes it worth it. Oh no, you feel like you're less alone.
It totally does. It's like it's one of those things, because you're on a. You are on a pedestal. You are, on a soapbox or whatever you want to call it. Right. But putting it out there helps others. There was a whole thing recently with I think football was doing it, the Football League, where they had that kind of like kick off at weird times. And people were like, people asked the question why, and then you gave them the answer. They're like, oh, which was like the mental health, like talk about it. Right. That sort of stuff. Yeah. And like within music, I found that, again, like whether it was either masked or it came out in a totally unproductive way of whatever I was going through, be it, general sort of like depression or, just going through a breakup or whatever at the time. Like I can look back and sort of pinpoint parts. But, mine came out in like an overzealous like stage like persona. And being like stupid on stage, like physically stupid to myself on stage. Like, I have like, I don't recall some of it, but there's points where I like, it was the music that we made was very kind of like, it was bordering on the more Slipknot side of things. Right. When it came to that kind of like new metal side of stuff. But it was, it was violent in quotations. Right. And I would like, go around, I'd smash records. I'd do all kinds of shit. I'd, headbutted a wall, stuff like that. Right. Apparently. Apparently. It does leave its mark, because the next day I was totally like, my body was like just aching, and I've got to carry shit in and out of a venue. When you're on tour, that's just no good. And now that I'm kind of like, I'm dealing with it the way I should, like openly talking about it, and being on it. I've got a family and everything, so it's easy. It's like nice to talk to them about it. Absolutely. And guys like yourself, doing this as well, like actually openly talking about mental health, which is something that I do feel very, very passionate about.
Well, I think the thing is, right, I think that the people who are drawn to alternative music, I think that they tend to be the ones who have the darkest minds. Like that's why we listen to bands like Slipknot. That's why we love like Marilyn Manson and Bring Me the Horizon. Because we're like that. As I said about North Atlas, it's like people who are like you are gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
So it's like, did you feel that being in an alternative band, as you said, you could smash records, you could get heavy, you could get down with it. Did you think that was the release you needed? Like that's why you were into the heavier side or the more alternative side of music?
Yeah, because like
I think that too.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Because like afterwards, there'll be this like a small sense of euphoria. Like I've just exorcised my demons.
Yeah, 100%. That is a perfect way to describe it, right? It's this exercising of demons. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but like the next day, it was there again.
Yeah,
the next gig, it was there again. The next night, or after you get that kind of like what you think is like, there is an element of post-gig blues, like a good gig. You're like, oh, that was really fun. Good. The next one's got like 3 people at it. But it was like at the time it was incredibly unhealthy. But at the time it felt like it helped. Like that was my release. That was my way of dealing with it. Like after that band split, I joined another band, and I was actually the front man of that band. So I could be a bit more expressive on what I was feeling to a certain degree. But my lyrics, I look back on my lyrics now, and they don't mean anything. They're literally just ramblings or trying to be funny of a weird sense of humor, which no one was privy to.
Sometimes that's good, but it depends who you are, I guess.
It's like a weird in-joke with just myself.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, there is something about getting or going to see a band that are singing about things that you get, like Linkin Park.
Yeah,
like all of the things. I was listening to them like literally just before this interview. I had my headphones in and I was just lying on my bed. I sometimes do that and just listen to music for hours.
Yeah,
and I would just listen to some of the things Chester was saying, and I'm like, geez, man, like it's I feel that. I deeply feel that.
Yeah,
and it's really, really healthy in a way, I think, to somewhat listen to that stuff and just kind of just lose yourself in it in your own head, because you do feel less alone.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like that's the thing with Linkin Park as well. Like the messages were there. Like that's the sort of like overriding like what you can take what you can now take from it. Obviously after Chester took his own life, but it's that kind of like mental health aspect. It's all there, kind of written out. He was expressing himself. Whether or not it was kind of like at the time sort of, not shaved over, but just sort of like there was a lot of bands with a lot of like, I guess issues in their lyrics, that it wasn't taken like as seriously, but then he wasn't so open with talking about it outside of
his lyrics. Yeah, man. Because I mean, you listen to like the last album, songs like Heavy and I think it's called One More Light. And you're like, oh shit, man! Yeah. Like that was how he was feeling, and I remember listening to that at the time, and I felt very much like that at the time that song came out. I was at a particular low point, so for me that was like, oh shit, I'm getting this. But like, in hindsight, when you look back and all the things that transpired after that came out, you're like, oh, that was his cry for help.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, you go back into their earlier albums as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's bits there. There was obviously outside of that, he wasn't taking out any kind of like frustrations on his family or anything like that.
Yeah, of course.
Because you would have heard about it otherwise. There would have been that whole outcry of that. But that was obviously his way of dealing
with that. Like from Hybrid Theory, right from the start.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I felt like, particularly with Linkin Park, because I remember my attitude when they first came out, because I was in a band. I was very kind of not snobbish, but they, they sound like a boy band.
Did you like them, or were you like?
I was. I mean, it's a weird one for me because, like, as a sort of like rule of cool, no. If I'm being perfectly honest about it, but because I DJ rock clubs, and they made songs that made people dance. Yeah. So I would hear those songs over and over and over again. So I got into it. Like I purchased the album because I wasn't going to get sent it, kind of thing, on promo.
Right.
But yeah, no, that whole kind of like the sort of more polished side of it. Initially, Rule of Cool said no, don't like it. But over time, like I used to play them all the time and sing along to them while I was playing them and stuff. So there is that subconscious thing of actually, no, this is catchy shit. I like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You can't deny that it's good music. I mean,
no, totally.
And there was some more poppy stuff in there. What's your opinion on Bring Me the Horizon and Ammo? What do you think of that?
The Ammo album, I don't mind it. The album before that, with Happy Song on it, and Throne, that was a good album. That was a good crossover point, I think.
Yeah.
From their sort of like more thrashy sort of early stuff. But no, it's a weird one. Again, it was like when they were initially around, I didn't care for them. Like, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I didn't care for them.
Yeah, like back in the day when they started with the, like, what genre would you call that? I can't remember what you call it.
Yeah, it was like a kind of thrash, kind of metalcore thing, hardcore.
Yeah, right.
But it was when basically I sort of got into them properly when they started like crossing over. Like when they had that like kind of more mainstream aspect to them. And I've kind of put my own personal kind of like things aside with that one because like people can have bad days. I give them that. But it was because I had the I always say this in every damn podcast. I lived in America for 5 years. And, and over there, one of their songs, Happy Song, in fact, was on rotation on the rock stations.
Right.
So every day I would hear it.
Yeah.
And it gave me a sense of weird kind of like pride to hear a British band that wasn't like a classic British band on a rock station. Yeah, right. So like a new band. And they were coming over, they were doing like the radio events and everything over in where I was in the States. So I just sort of got into them naturally. Like I said, I put my kind of like previous experiences behind me on that front. Ammo, to get back on track, I actually did buy that album on vinyl.
Right.
I'm looking around my my garage right now. Yeah, it's in my record box. And that was a weird experience because it had some of the aspects of that previous album, that heavy and with like Mantra and stuff like that. And then it just sort of had a bit more, what's the word? It's not really pop music, but it's kind of like middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melodically, they got more like that, I think, by Ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. And it's going to be a sort of strange one to see where they go from there.
I'm interested. I'm very interested to see what comes next for Bring Me the Horizon. I mean, I think they're working on something just now, man. I'm waiting on it with bated breath.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will listen to it. I will give it my fair ear on that front.
Yeah.
But no, I picked it up on vinyl, just because like it looked cool as well, actually, the vinyl itself.
The artwork was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I really like Mantra, to be honest with you. I really like that track.
It's a great track. Like,
it was an instant club like dance track as well, which is very, very rare these days. Like a track that got enough traction that every bastard in that club had heard it before. That's the most difficult thing these days. Even though with the aspect, we go back to those playlist side of things, not everyone listens to the same playlists. You can have a track that's had like 14 million streams. You play it in a club and it clears the dance floor. So man, streams don't count for shit now. Can I swear on this? Sorry. You can. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I've made so many mistakes, man, swearing on things, and people are like, "No, you can't swear." Okay, yeah, it's fine.
No, we're good on this one.
Yeah. But like, you're right, man. It is kind of a different game, isn't it? Because you can get people bands who just have thousands and thousands of plays, and then nobody really cares. I don't think it's more about the quality of listener. Now, I don't mean to dehumanize people when I say that, but I guess what I mean to say is more about the people who listen to music and really care, because there are a lot of things I listen to passively. I'll just have on when I'm doing whatever, and I'm not a fan of, but there are some things that I listen and I'm like, that play definitely counted for more.
Yeah. Because
I cared more about it, and I would then go forward and you buy the music and go and see them live, So it's like, it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality of the listener, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, like I said, and it's a very like rare occurrence these days when that happens. Like you don't have to be on like back when I sort of started DJing clubs. a good way of finding new music was like the cover CD on Metal Hammer, stuff like that, and you could pick out tracks off of that. And play in the club, and people would have heard it because they would have bought Metal Hammer. Because
it would, like it would have been on that one magazine.
Yeah,
that's funny that's kind of dissipated a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like it's one of those things that now, like I've put a friend's band on there a couple of years back. How long ago was it? Anyway, it's a couple of years back. Onto the Metal Hammer CD.
Yeah,
a very different process to the way I went on it before, because I've been on it like with my band. But I got a friend's band on it because I had friends at the magazine at the time, and it didn't do like I got the copy of the CD, and like a lot of the bands on there it wasn't particularly great quality. There wasn't anything that I could kind of use, if you get me, like in the club sense, like whereas before there was always like a big band on there, you know, you could always get at least one big band on there, be it Disturbed or Papa Roach or whoever at the time. It was just really weird. And then like subsequent ones after that, because I went on a roll of buying it, and they were all kind of like, I don't know, there's nothing on there. I mean, one of them was a battle metal thing, so that wasn't really sort of geared towards me. But it was weird, because normally like there would be something on there. I don't know if it was like they're just not bothering anymore, because I know there was an aspect of you used to pay to go onto that CD. It was free when I did it for my friend, but they gave up the PRS side of it,
right?
So because you could normally, like, the trick was paying for it to go on there and then claiming that back afterwards, because it would get distributed to like 50,000-60,000 people. So the PRS or PPE, whatever it is, PPR, I can't remember. The whatever it is these days, you could claim the majority of that money back just on that side of it. But it was a weird one, like even that. But like playlists now, it's just finding finding the one that people are subscribing to more. Yeah. You know, because
that is true. That is true. And you know, you get like artist playlists and whatnot. Do you know? Are you into soundtracks?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we made one on the North Atlas page. We made a soundtracks playlist, and it's something we update every month. And there's a, you know, we're really into that, man. We're really into the soundtracks thing. We did a thing on Instagram. We did a soundtrack. We were sent in footage, and we soundtracked a short film in a day, just last week.
Nice.
And it was just a lot of fun, you know, to kind of dig into that kind of feel of things.
Yeah.
So, but we've got it on there, man.
Okay.
It's Cinematic Sounds, it's called. It's got all the, you know, cinematic sounds.
Cool.
Yeah, man. So if you're into that, you should check it out.
Yeah, no, I will do. I'm writing it down. That's what if you hear me scratching away on my paper here. No, I'll check that out. I'm always after, like, you know, not just sort of like new music, but just general sort of like specialist side of things, and cinematic music and stuff is a good
there's like
one for me.
Fever Rays on there, Forest Swords, some other things like I know I really enjoyed the track from the new Blade Runner movie. You know, it was Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfish, I think. They had put together that, and that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, no, I love the original soundtrack to the original Blade Runner.
That was sick as well, right? That awesome.
Yeah, it was like when I went to go see the new one at the cinema, I was great. It was like me and my wife. It was only us two in the cinema, which was great. So we sat we sat in the sweet spot in the middle. And
that's perfect. That is perfect. You feel like a rich guy, you know.
Yeah, and they had those speakers cranked all the way up as well. So like the soundtrack was just like, it was like fully immersive.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I love that sort of aspect of things as well. Like the sort of like just the sort of cinematic stuff. I got a couple of friends who do that kind of, well, they do sync music. Basically, they use it for adverts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they went on a binge of writing cinematic versions of songs. And one of them did Rebel Yell. Did Billy Idol's Rebel Yell, but in a cinematic version.
That's cool.
So if you're into that, if you just want a bit of a laugh, maybe a laugh. I don't know. It was actually pretty good. But go find that. It's about a guy called Blue Starley. I'm
gonna write that down.
Yeah.
What's the dude called?
Blue Starley. That's
Blue Starley.
Yeah, Stahli. He writes a lot of like electronic rock music generally. His like music's used on adverts for like Call of Duty and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he did a cinematic version of that song, and I was like, that's actually pretty good. It's like, yeah.
Very cool. That's very cool. Do you know what would be a cool one for like a cinematic version? Be Kashmir by Zeppelin.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like a cinematic.
Yeah.
That's very soundtracky.
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah.
Was that used for anything?
It was. It was used. Puff Daddy sampled it for the Godzilla soundtrack.
Right. Maybe that's what
ago.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
But he just sampled that da-na-na, 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 the swingy bit. But yeah, that could work. That could definitely work. That is a good idea. Let's see if I can open up Pro Tools now.
yeah.
I'm not that musically talented. So, man, I'm going to wrap things up if that's all right.
No problem.
I've got a couple because I've got a couple of interviews coming up later on as well. So, but I've got a couple of questions left for you. These are sort of my like end off generic questions, if you will.
Okay.
But what I'd like to know are your 3 albums that really influence the person that you are or musician that you are today. So I'm not talking about, like your favorite albums as such as like, I don't know, but it's just that kind of the one that made you want to pick up a microphone, the one that wanted to make you make music. Those sort of
Well, Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf, that was pretty influential early on, man. Like me and my brother, when we were kids, we would get into the garage, our parents' garage, when we were just young teenagers, and we'd try and play that song, A Song for the Dead. Is it A Song for the
Songs for the Dead?
You know the one with the crazy like drum intro?
Yes.
Yeah, and we would try and kind of get that down. That was sort of like our dream as 14-year-olds. We're like, if we can just play this song, we'll be real musicians. So that was one for sure. Yeah. Queens of the Stone Age. I think I would have to say some of the new Bring Me the Horizon stuff.
Yeah,
that has been very, very influential. I think that the lyrics and what Ollie Sykes is talking about at the moment, I think is kind of stuck with me, and probably influenced me to try and be more honest with my lyrics and maybe talk more about some of the the darker elements, the anxiety, the depression. So that's definitely been influential. And for the third, I don't know. I think off the top of my head, I maybe see Don Broco's Technology. I think that was pretty great.
That's a good album.
That was a lot of fun. Is it a lot of it? You can kind of escape from some of the more darker things in your life by listening to that because it's quite fun.
Yeah. No.
So like that there's definitely something in that, and it's just full of great tunes.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And finally, what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not writing for North Atlas or performing or anything like that, obviously right now, probably not doing any of that, but what are your hobbies away from it?
Well, I do make some short films, something that I'm quite into. I'll kind of try and make pieces of film, and I'll do sort of bits of soundtrack for it, and I'll do some work for other people doing that as well.
Cool.
So that's a kind of hobby / job. It's certainly something that I have a lot of passion for, and I enjoy weightlifting. That's a good escape. It's a good stress buster.
Nice.
When you're feeling quite intense and you got a lot going on, it's good to just sort of jump to the gym, or I'm lucky enough to have a wee home set up. So that's something that I can get into and just kind of work out a little bit,
cool,
which is good. And I suppose if you can class this as a hobby, I enjoy movies. I enjoy a lot of like the old Sergio Leone movies, the spaghetti westerns and things like that. So yeah, man, like I spend a lot of my time watching that and getting immersing myself in some of those fantastic stories and filmmaking.
Nice. You got any favorites on those? On the
I don't know, man. Well, Once Upon a Time in America is pretty strong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I also watched the other day. It's a favorite of mine. The Man Who Would Be King.
Oh yeah,
dude, that's incredible.
Cool,
powerful movie. Yeah. So yeah, man. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, I used to work in a video store in my previous life, and back when you could actually rent video cassettes. We're talking that long ago. But I'm always interested in people's movies, like preference and stuff like that, just purely on the basis of just being in that trade for a while. But I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in America yet. It's just popped
it's
up
worth
on,
fun.
Yeah, it's just popped up on one of my streaming services, so I'll be watching that at some point soon.
And this talk about soundtracks, there's some incredible soundtracks in it. Morricone did some of the soundtracks for those films, and they're just incredible. Sergio Leone stuff.
Excellent. Cool. Well, Leon, thank you very much, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I hope you're doing all right in the lockdown, and hopefully we get out of this soon.
Yeah, once you're out of this, and we're all out of this, and if you end up down this way, down the bottom of the country, well, I'm definitely coming along, and coming to see you guys live. I think because that's one of my things I've kind of like promised myself and everything is just to get out to more gigs. Like I was going out kind of periodically for shows, but I think now kind of like I'm not taking it for granted, but you know that kind of like. I need to be out more.
Yeah, right. There's definitely the pangs for going out to gigs again. I wonder if people are going to come out more now that this has happened. It's going to make people more inspired to go out. Yeah. That might be true, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what part of Scotland are you in?
I'm in Glasgow right now.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Dumfries and Galloway, but I'm in Glasgow, which is it's a good city.
Yeah, no, I went on holiday last year to Scotland. We stayed in Abergavenny.
Right.
I love Scotland generally.
It sounds like a Scottish place.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's on kind of like the west side, I think. But yeah,
was it up in the Highlands? Did you go up in the Highlands?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, almost that far up. So
I tell you what, man, if you're ever up in Scotland again, you should go to Glencoe.
Oh, we did.
That is a fantastic place, man. It's like you're walking through Lord of the Rings.
Oh no, we did go there.
Yeah.
I drove through that. It's like,
isn't it beautiful? It's incredible.
It's absolutely magnificent. I cannot like recommend that to anyone enough. We stopped off at like most of the points and got out, even though the weather was just like awful.
Yeah,
but,
it's always pretty. It's pretty bad.
We needed to get that pano shot. You know, we need to get that. that bit, but no, we went up. We stayed. We did a couple of stop offs on the way up. We stayed over at Loch Fyne.
Yes,
like literally bang next to it in one of the like pubs next to it. And then we went up to that where I said before. I wish I knew. We actually stayed there for like the whole week. But no, like last year I did this, like, set myself a challenge of doing 365 days of scratching. So that's like like DJ scratching, not me just scratching my leg. But I've got a portable turntable.
Yeah,
and there's a couple of videos on YouTube of me like sat next to Loch Fyne and just scratching away to some random beat.
Amazing. That is really cool. I like that.
I was like, it was just like stuck in the middle of this, just like loads of hills around me and everything, and like the weather. It wasn't raining, but it was cold, but it wasn't wet, you know. Yeah, and I was just like, this is perfect. Do it right now. Just got my phone out, plugged it all in.
This is Instagram gold right now.
Yeah. There's like people walking past looking at what the hell's he doing? What's that noise?
Yeah, the Scottish locals. Yeah, they've never heard anybody scratching before. Like, what the hell's that? Is that some modern type music? I don't know. Not bagpipes.
Yeah, I should have got some of those. But no, I played gigs up in Scotland. I played at actually one of the good gigs I played was up at St Andrews.
Right.
We played the Union there. And we did that in a fucking day, which was really stupid of us. We like literally went up for the one gig and came back, but because it was a uni gig, it was well paid. It was paid enough for us to do that.
Right.
It was paid enough for us to actually get a bloody hotel room for the night, but no one wanted to do that. They just went up, went down. I was like, fuck's sake. But no, it was a really good show. People there were really good. I DJ'd afterwards as well. They did like a rock night at their Union, and we played a show, and then I DJ'd till like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I think it was. So it was pretty good fun. But
man.
We did plan to go back to Scotland this year, but I don't think that's going to happen at the moment. So
yeah, no, it's it is a bit of a shame that these things can happen. I do wish more bands would come up to Scotland. I think that they kind of miss out on Scotland a wee bit. Yeah, you know, which is a bit of a shame. But
we had some good times. Is it the Cat House, or was it the Cat House? I don't know if it still exists.
The Cat House is a venue in Glasgow. Yeah, that's a great place, man. Yeah, there's some good venues in Glasgow. The Garage is pretty good. Played there a few times.
Cool.
We've obviously the Hydro is a kind of arena. It's a larger place, but there are some cool like more underground venues. Definitely worth checking out. Cat House, Nice and Sleazy's. That's that was actually in that. What was that? Lamb of God documentary. Was it Philadelphia? Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah.
I think, Randy and somebody were fighting outside bloody Nice and Sleazy's in Glasgow, and I'm like, this is like, everyone's shocked, and like, this is just a normal Saturday night. You always fight something outside Nice and Sleazy's. It does spur that.
It does spur that reaction in you, doesn't it?
Just being in Glasgow. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Cool. Well, man, thank you very much again. I really appreciate the chat. I really do. It's been absolutely fantastic. So
yeah, ideal.
But yeah, no, thank you very much, Leon. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah, and hopefully when this thing's all over, we're down. Where is it you're based?
I'm down in Surrey, which is about sort of 20, 30 miles south of London.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah, man. Well, if we're ever down there, you should come up for a pint and we'll get some more music chatting to go. I mean, I'm always up for that.
Excellent.
Yeah,
sounds
dude.
good, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.